All right, before I begin, I want to talk very briefly about the importance of the invocation to the muse. The muses were the inspiration for poets, and that image is still used today. The important thing about epic poetry, and there are actually two. The first is that because ancient Greek was an inflected language, word order didn't matter, the first word in the poem was the most important. In this instance, andra, Greek for man. What's the Odyssey about? Odysseus and his journeys. The first word of the Iliad, Mayan, wrath. The Iliad is about the wrath of Achilles. Okay, please remember that. That's what this is about. Secondly, okay, this was an oral presentation. Okay, a rich aristocratic Athenian or anybody else would hire somebody, and over the course of 12 to 14 nights, they would perform the entire poem before everybody. Speak it, memorize it, learn it, and perform it. Luckily for you, I cannot sing, so I'll have to recite it. And without further ado, Andra boyene te musa, holotropon posmala pola, plagtene pe troies ieron, toliethron e persen, polon da anthropon hiden astea, kainun egno. Pola da hogen ponto pathen agea pun katathumon, or numenos hen tu te tsuken kai noston hitairon, ala pure hos hitairos elusato yemenos pe, auton gas spetierse atalesta as thaliesin, olonto, nepioi hoi katabue superimos helioioi, hestion aupar hotoisen apelioito, nostimon hemar, ton almothen ge, thea tugater deos, ete car him.
Now, in case some of you might not have understood what Mr. Thomason just said, Justin Chu, ready to go?
Mayan Passage takes place about 9 years after the end of the Trojan War. Odysseus is currently on Cyclops Island for his 7th year, craving to return to Ithaca and his wife. Sing to me of the man muse, the man of twists and turns, driven time and again off course. Once he had plundered the hallowed heights of Troy. Many cities of men he saw and learned their minds. Many pains he suffered, heartsick on the open sea, fighting to save his life and bring his comrades home. But he cannot save them from disaster, hard as he strove. The recklessness of their own race destroyed them all. The blind fools, they devoured the cattle of the sun, and the sun got wiped from sight the day of their return. Launch out my story, muse, daughter of Zeus, start from where you will, sing for our time too. By now, all the survivors, all who avoided headlong death, were safe at home, escaped the wars and waves. But one man alone, his heart set on his wife and his return. Calypso, the bewitching nymph, the lustrous goddess, held him back, deep in her arching caverns, craving him for a husband. But then, when the weaning seasons brought the year around, that year spun up by the gods when he should reach his home, Ithaca. Though not even there would he be free of trials, even among his loved ones. Then every god took pity, all except Poseidon. He raged on, seething against the great Odysseus, till he reached his native land.
Second pair, ready to go? Andrew and Adrian.
The passage takes place in Odysseus' palace, and it's about Penelope telling the bard to stop singing, and Telemachus telling his mother to hush up as he takes the child.
Amidst them still, the famous bard sang on, and they sat in silence listening, as he performed the aching's journey home from Troy. All the blows of pain I had been to endure. And now, from high above in her womb, deep in thoughts, she caught his inspired strings. Icarus' daughter, Penelope, wary and reserved, and down the steep stairs from her chamber she descended. And that radiant woman, once she reached her suitors, drawing her glistening veils across her cheeks,
Pause now.
pause now where I call him up the sturdy roof. Suddenly this up with one of her loyal handmaids and stationed either side. Suddenly, dissolving in tears, bursting through the bard's inspired voice, she cried, "Phineas, so many other songs you know to hold a spellbound. The works of God and men, singers celebrate. Sing one of those as you sit beside them here, and they drink their wine in silence. But break off the song, the unendurable song that the unendurable song the unendurable song
That always.
that always holds me in grief.
The unforgettable grief.
The unforgettable grief that rends me most of all. How for a long for my husband, all alive in my memories, always.
That great man.
That great man whose fame reaches to Helios, right through the depths of Argos.
Why, mother, quoth Thomason, putting sharply, why deny our devoted bard the chance to entertain us any way the spirit stirs him on? Bards are not to blame. Zeus is to blame. He deals with each and every labor on this earth, whatever doom pleases. Why fault the bard who sings Argive's harsh fate? It's always the latest song, the one that echoes last in the listener's ears, that people praise the most. Courage, mother, harden your heart and listen. Odysseus was scarcely the only one we know, whose journey home was blotted out of Troy. Others, so many others, died there too. So mother, go back to the quarters, head your own task, with the staff in the loom, and keep the woman working hard as well. As for giving orders, men will keep to them. But I most of all, I hold the reins of power in yourselves.
Our passage is from Book 2. Zeus sends down 2 eagles, and how Theseus makes the prediction. And to seal his prayer, far-seeing Zeus sent down a sign. He launched 2 eagles soaring down from a mountain ridge, and down they glided, borne on the wind's draft a moment. Wing to wingtip, pinning and straining, taut to just above the assembly's throbbing hum they were of. Suddenly, wings thrashing, wild and slaughtered wings, and banking down at the crowd's heads, a glaring fatal sign. Talons slashing each other, tearing cheeks and throats. They swooped away on the right through homes and city. All were dumbstruck, watching the eagles trail from sight. People brooding deeply what might come to pass. Until the old warrior, Theseus, the master's son, broke the silence for them. The one who outperformed all men of his time at reading bird signs, sounding out the omens, rose and spoke, distraught for each man there. Hear me, men of Ithaca, hear what I have to say. Though my revelations strike the suitors first of all, a great disaster is rolling like a breaker toward their heads. Clearly, Odysseus won't be far from loved ones any longer. Now, right now, he's somewhere near, I tell you. Really bloody death for all these suitors here. Pains aplenty too for the rest of us who live in Ithaca's sunlit air.
Long before that, we must put heads together, find some way to stop these men, to let them stop themselves. Better for them their way, my friend. I myself am no stranger to prophecy. I can see it now. Odysseus, all is working out for him. I say, just as I said, it would that day the Argives sailed for Troy, and the mastermind of battle boarded with them. I said then, after many blows and all his shipmates lost, after 20 years had rolled by, he would come home, unrecognized by all. And now, look, it all comes to pass. Stop, old man. Eurymachus, Polybius' son, rose up to take him on. Go home and babble your omens to the children. Save them from some catastrophe coming soon. I'm a better hand than you at reading importance. Flocks of birds go fluttering under the sun's rays. Not all are brought with me. Odysseus is dead now, far from home. Would to God they had died with him too. We would have escaped your drowning prophecies then, and the way you lose the dogs of his boy's anger.
My passage is from Book 3, when Telemachus goes to visit Nestor and Pylos. For 9 years we wove a web of disaster for those Trojans, pressing them hard with every tactic known to man. And only after we slaved did Zeus award us victory. And no one there could hope to rival Odysseus, not for sheer cunning. At every twist of the strategy he excelled us all. Your father, yes, if you are in fact his son. I look at you and a sense of wonder takes me. Your way with words is just like his, I swear. No youngster could ever speak like you. So apt and so telling. As long as I and great Odysseus soldiered there, why, never once did we speak out at odds. Neither in open muster, nor in royal council. Forever one in mind, in judgment balanced, shrewd, we mapped our army's plans so things might turn out best. But then, once we'd sacked King Priam's craggy city, Zeus contrived in his heart a fatal homeward run. For all Achaeans who were fools, at least, dishonest too, so many met a disastrous end, thanks to the lethal rage.
My passage is Menelaus telling his his story of being trapped on an island on his return home from Troy and having to confront Proteus on how he can get off the island and reach Sparta in the land. So. At high noon, the old man emerged from the waves, found his fat bed seals, and made his rounds. Counting them off, counting on his first 4. We had no inkling of all the fraud on foot. Then down he lay and slept. But when we get the battle cry, we rushed him, flung our arms around him. He'd lost nothing, that old rascal, none of his cunning, quick techniques. First, he shifted into the great bearded lion, and then a serpent, a panther, a romping wild boar, a torrent of water, a tree with soaring branch tops. But we hung on for dear life, braving it out, until at last that quick change artist, the old wizard, began to weary of all this and burst out into rapid-fire questions. Which god, Menelaus, conspired with you to trap me in ambush, seize me against my will? What on earth do you want? You know, old man, I countered now. Why put me off with questions? Here I am, cooped up on an island, far too long, with no way out, none that I can find. Well, my spirit ebbs away. But you tell me, you immortals know it all, which one of you blocks my way here, keeps me from my voyage? How can I cross this swarming sea and reach home at last?
Okay, so my passage is located in book 4, and it talks about Proteus explaining Agamemnon's death to Menelaus, who is Agamemnon's brother.
We'll use our reaction.
That particular and it's not working for some reason.
No, you don't need to do the introduction.
Agamemnon got away in his big ship. Queen Hera pulled him through. How he rejoiced. Achilles, setting foot on his fatherland once more. But a watchman saw him too, from the lookout high above. A spy, that cunning Aegisthus, stationed there. Luring the man with 2 gold bars in payment. 1 whole year he walked. So the great king will not get past unseen. His fighting power intact for self-defense. The spy ran the news to his master's halls, and Aegisthus quickly set his stealthy trap. Picking the 20 best recruits from town, he packed them in ambush at one end of the house. At the other, he ordered a banquet, dressed and spread, and went to welcome the conquering hero, Agamemnon, with his team in chariot and a mile of sworn field. Off from the shore he led the king. He ushered him in. Suspecting nothing of all his doom, he feasted him well. Then cut him down as a man cuts down some ox at the trough. Not one of your brothers' men at arms is left alive. None of Aegisthus either. All killed in the palace.
So my passage takes place right after Calypso is freeing Odysseus after 7 years of hardships not really hardships, but captivity at her island, Ogygia. And he's built a craft and he's just gone on the ocean. He doesn't exactly know where he's going. And Poseidon has just put a massive storm on. At that, a massive wave came crashing down on the set. A terrific onslaught spinning his craft round and round. He was thrown clear of the decks. The steering wheel wrenched from his grasp, and in one lightning attack, the brawling gallon struck full force, snapping the mast to mid-shaft, and hurling the sail and sail yard far across the sea. He went under a good long while, no fast way out, no struggling up for one of the giant waves assault. His clothing dragged him down, divine Calypso's gifts. But at last, he fought his way to the surface, spewing bitter wine. Streams were pouring down his head. But half drowned as he was, he did not forget his craft. He lunged after her through the waves. Like bold and huddling amidships, fled the stroke of death. Pell-mell, the rowers tossed her along down current, wild as the north wind tossing thistle along the fields at high harvest, dry stalks clutching each other tightly. Now the gale winds tumbled her down the sea. The south wind flinging her to the north wind to spoil her. Now the east wind passing her to the west wind, carrying her on.
Our passage is when Odysseus wakes up on the island of Phaeacia and he has no clothes, no food, and no idea where he is. And then he hears girls laughing, so he gets up and to investigate.
Man of misery, whose land have I lit on now? What are they here? Violent, savage, lawless? Or are they friendly to strangers, God-fearing men? Listen, shouting, echoing round me. Women, girls, or the nymphs who haunt the rugged mountaintops, or in the river springs and the meadows lush with grass, or am I really close to people who speak my language? Up with you, see how the land lies, see for yourself now. Muttering so, great Odysseus crept out of the bushes, stripping off with his massive hand a leafy branch from the tangled olive grove to shield his body and hide his private parts. And out he stalked as a mountain lion, exultant in his power, strides through wind and rain. His eyes blaze, and he charges after sheep or oxen, or chases after wild deer. His hunger drives him to go for flocks, even to raid the best defended homesteads. And so Odysseus moved out, about to mingle with the lovely girls, naked now as he was, for the need drove him on. A terrible sight, all crusted, caked with brine. They scrambled and panicked down the jutting beaches. Only Alcinous's daughter held fast, for Athena planted courage within her heart, and dissolved the trembling in her limbs. She stood her ground and faced Odysseus. Torn now.
Should he fling his arms around her knees? Young beauty, plead for help or stand back. Plead with a winning word. Beg her to lead him to the town and lend him clothing? This was the better way, he thought. Plead now with a subtle winning word. Don't clasp her knees. The girl might bridle. Yes, he launched in at once. Endearing, sly, and suave. Here I am, at your mercy, princess. Are you a goddess, or are you a mortal? If one of the gods who rules the sky, up there, you're Artemis, to the life, daughter of mighty Zeus. I see her now. Just look at your build, your bearing, your life-flowing grace. But if you're one of the mortals living here on earth, 3 times blessed are your father, your queenly mother, 3 times over your brothers too. How often their hearts must warm with joy to see you striding into the dances, such a bloom of beauty. True. But he is the one more blessed than all other men alive, that man who sways you with gifts and brings you home his bride. When I look at you, a sense of wonder takes me. I've never seen a man or woman like you.
The passage I'll be reading is from Book 8 in Phaeacia, where Broadsea and Odysseus are competing in the Olympic Games. But note that Odysseus has not kind of revealed himself, so they kind of still think he's a stranger. With a dark glance, wily Odysseus shot back. Indecent talk, my friend. You're a reckless fool, I see that. So the gods don't hand out all their gifts at once, not build and brains and flowing speech to all. One man may fail to impress us with his looks, but a god can crown his words with beauty, charm, and men look on with delight when he speaks out. Never faltering, filled with winning self-control, he shines forth at assembly grounds, and people gaze at him like a god when he walks through the streets. Another man may look like a deathless one on high, but there is not a bit of grace to crown his words. Just like you, my fine, handsome friend, not even a god can improve your lovely looks, but the mind inside is worthless. Your slander, it fans the anger in my heart. I'm no stranger to sports, for all your taunts. I've held my place at the front ranks, I tell you. For I could trust to my youth and my striving hands.
I gotta talk about the book 9 that Odysseus and his men defeated the Cyclops. With that, he toppled over, spreading the forelands, and fled all on his bike and lie there, his massive neck stepping to the one side and sleeping the conqueror all overwhelmed him now. As spurting, flooding off from his gullet this chunk of human flesh, and he vomited, blind drunk. Now, at last, I trust our stake in the bed of ember get it red hot. To rule all my comrades. Courage, no pity, no one hand back now. And I drag the green as was the olive stake. Just want to catch the fire and glow the terrified. Yes, I drag it from the. I drag it from the flame, my man crusting around as some god breathing some enormous and courage through us all. I hosting up the other stake with the saving point and straight to the monster. Yeah. Straight to the monster time. Just like that. And straight to the monster's eye and get into that heart. And I twisting faster, never stopping, and my man sets up the stake with the 40 tape, and I draw my weight on it, and like throwing a ball, I boarded home. There's no blood, but the blood came out
falling up around in the eyeball of the monster, and I turning around in the monster's eye, and the hot sign the blade and throw it the eyelid around the corner, and the bowling eyeball burst.
There's a typo, excuse me, Will, just a moment. There's a typo on your program. This should be Will Thomason Chuck.
Our reading is just after Odysseus has poked out Polyphemus' eye, and Polyphemus is very angry. So I vaunted, and he groaned in answer, "Oh no, no, that prophecy years ago. It all comes home to me with a vengeance now. We once had a prophet here, a great tall man, Telemachus, Eurymus' son, a master at reading signs who grew old in his trade among his fellow Cyclops. All this, he warned me, would come to pass someday. That I'd be blind here at the hands of one Odysseus. But I always looked for a handsome giant man to cross my path, some fighter clad in power-like armor plate. But look what a dwarf, a spineless good-for-nothing who stuns me with wine and gouges out my eye. Come here, Odysseus, let me give you a guest gift, and urge Poseidon, the earthquake god, to speed you home. I am his son, and he claims to be my father. True, and he himself will heal me if he pleases. No other blessed god, no man can do the work.
Heal you, here was my parting shot. Would to God I could strip you of life and breath and ship you down to house of death. As surely as no one will ever heal your eye, not even your earthquake god himself. But at that he bellowed out to Lord Poseidon, thrusting his arm to the starry sky, and prayed, "Hear me, Poseidon, the god of sea who made to rock the earth. If I really am your son and you claim to be my father, come, grant that Odysseus, raider of cities, Laertes' sons who make his home in Ithaca, or if he fated, never reach home, if he fated to see his peoples once again and reach his well-built house and his own native country, let him come home late and come a broken man, all shipmate lost, alone in a stranger ship, and let him find a world of pain at home." Thank you.
My passage is when Odysseus is in Phaeacia, and he is describing the Phaeacians, his encounter with his mother, Anticlea, in the underworld. And I, my mind in turmoil, how I longed to embrace my mother's spirit, dead as she was. 3 times I rushed towards her, desperate to hold her. 3 times she flooded through my fingers, sifting away like a shadow, dissolving like a dream. And each time the grief cut to the heart, sharper, yes, and I cried out to her, words winging into the darkness. "Mother, why not you wait for me? How I long to hold you. So even here in the house of death, we can fling our loving arms around each other and take some joy in the tears that numb the heart. Or is this just some wrath that great Persephone sends my way to make me ache with sorrow all the more?" My noble mother answered me at once, my son, the unluckiest man alive. This is no deception sent by Queen Persephone. This is just the way of mortals when we die. Sinews no longer bind the flesh and bones together, and the fire in all its fury burns the body to ashes. And the spirit,
rustling, flitters away, flown like a dream. Our passage is when Odysseus and his crew ventured to the underworld to seek out the blind prophet Proteus, and Odysseus runs into Achilles, the ghost. The voice of his spirit paused, and I was quick to answer. Achilles, son of Peleus, greatest of the Achaeans. I had to consult Proteus, driven here by hopes that would help me journey home to rocky Ithaca. Never yet have I needed Achaea. Never once set foot on native ground. My life is endless trouble. But you, Achilles, is not a man in the world more blessed than you. Never has been, never will be one. Time was when you were alive. We Argives honored you as a god. Now down here I see, you rule over the dead in all your power. So grieve no more in dying, great Achilles.
I reassured the ghost, but he broke out protesting. No winning words about death to me, shining desolate. By God, I'd rather slave on earth for another man. Some dirt poor tenant farmer who scrapes to keep alive. They rule down here over all the breathless dead. But come, tell me the news about my gallant son. Did he make his way to the wars? Did the boy become a champion? Yes or no? Tell me about noble pleas, any word you've heard. Still holding pride place among his Myrmidon hordes? Or did they despise the man who had us in Pythia, because old age has lamed his arms and legs? For I no longer stand in the light of day, the man I was, comrades in arms, to help my father, as once I helped our armies, king the best fighters in Troy feel it in the wide world up there. Oh, to arrive at father's house, the man I was for one brief day. I'd make my fury, my hands, my invincible hands, a thing of terror to all those men who abused the king before it and wrestled away his honor.
Mine is in book 12, and Odysseus is on a long trip to Aeus, and Circe is telling him the dangers of stuff. Not even a god who meets her face to face. She has 12 legs, all writhing, dangling down, and 6 long swaying necks, a hideous head on each. Each head barbed with a triple row of fangs, thick set, packed tight and armed to the hilt with black death. Boiled up in the cavern's bowels from her waist down, she shoots out her heads out of that terrifying pit, angling right from her nest, wildly sweeping the reefs for dolphins, dogfish, or any bigger forage she can sweep from the thousands amphitrite spawns in groaning seas. No mariners yet can boast. They've raced their ship past skyless lair without some mortal blow. With each of her 6 heads, she snatches up a man from the dark proud craft and whisks him off. The other crag is lower. You will see, Odysseus. They'll both lie side by side, an arrow shot apart. Atop it, a great fig tree rises, shaggy with leaves. Beneath it, awesome Charybdis gulps down the dark water. 3 times a day she vomits it up. 3 times she gulps it down. That terror. Don't be there when the whirlpool swallows down. Not even the earthquake god could save you from disaster.
My passage is about when Odysseus is warning his men to come on a journey back to Ithaca after they spent the night on Circe's island of Aea. And Circe, the nymph with glossy braids, the awesome one who speaks with human voice, sent us a hearty shipment, yes, a fresh following wind ruffling up in our wake, bellying out our sail to drive our blue prow on, as we, securing the running gear from stern to stern, sat back while the wind and helmsman kept her true on course. At last, and sore at heart, I told my shipmates, "Friends, it's wrong for only one or two to know the revelations that lovely Circe made to me alone. I'll tell you all, so we can die with our eyes wide open now, or escape our fate of certain death together." First, she warns, we must steer clear of the sirens, their enchanted song, their meadow starred with flowers. I alone was to hear their voices. So she said, "But you must bind me with tight chafing ropes so I cannot move muscle. Bound to the spot, erect to the mast block, lashed by ropes to the stern. And if I plead, commanding you to set me free, then lash me faster, rope on, pressing rope."
Our passage is from Book 13, in which Odysseus tells Athena tells Odysseus that he's on Ithaca. "You must be a fool, stranger, or come from nowhere. You really have to ask what land this is. Trust me, it's not some nameless after all. It's known the world around. To all who face the western, to all who live from the east and the rising sun, and to all who face the western mist and darkness. It's a rugged land, too cramped for driving horses. But though it's far from broad, it's hardly poor. There's plenty of grain for bread, grapes for wine, and the rains never fail, and the dew falls healthy. There's strand on strand of timber, and water runs in stream beds throughout the year. So, stranger, the name of Ithaca reaches as far as Troy, and Troy, they say, is a long, hard sail from Greece.
Ithaca, heart racing Odysseus, that great exile, filled with joy, hear Athena, daughter of stormy Zeus, pronounce the name. Some native ground at last, he replied with a winged word in the palace, not with a word of truth. He choked it back, always in love coming in his heart. Ithaca? Yes, I seem to have heard of Ithaca, even on Crete's broad island far across the sea, and now I've reached it here myself, with all this loot. But I left behind an equal measure for my children. I'm a fugitive now, you see. I killed Admetus, his son, Orsilochus, lightning on his legs, a man who beat all runners alive on that long island. What a racer. He tried to rob me of all the spoil I'd won at Troy. The plunder I went to hell and back and captured, true, cleaving my way through wars of men and waves at sea. Just because I refused to please his father, serve under him at Troy, I let him have command.
Broil them all to a turn, and pulling them off the spits, piled the platters high, and the swineherd standing up, carved them all out into 7 equal portions. And the rest he handed on to each man in turn. To Odysseus, he presented the boar's long loin, and the cup of honor shared his master's cup.
My passage is about Eumaeus and how he prepares a bed for Odysseus as when Athena disguises him as a giver. With that, he rose to his feet and lay a bed out by the fire. throwing over the skins of sheep and goats, and down Odysseus' sled. Eumaeus flung on his guest his heavy flaring cloak. Eumaeus flung on his guest his heavy flaring cloak he kept in reserve to wear when winter brought some wild storm. So here Odysseus slept, and his young hand slept beside him. Not the swineherd, not as style the bed indoors, not a part of his pigs. He dared to go outside and warn Odysseus' heart. Eumaeus cared so much for his absent master's goods. First, over his broad shoulders, he slung a whetted sword, wrapped himself in a cloak stitched tight to block the wind. He took a good sharp glance outside to guard the men and dogs. Then out he went to sleep where his white-tusked horse had settled down for the night, just under the jutting crag that broke the north wind's blast.
My character is from the perspective of Eumaeus on the whole situation with Odysseus and his family. I'll tell you the whole story, point by point. Laertes is still alive. He prays night and day to Zeus, waiting in his house for the life breath to leave his body. His heart is so racked for his son, lost and gone all these years. His wife, so fine, so wise, her death was the worst blow he had to suffer. She died from longing for her boy to come home.
It wore her down, a wretched way to go.
It wore her down, a wretched way to go. I would not wish this death upon any idle neighbor of mine who treated me kindly.
Our passage is from book 6 or 16. It's when Athena transforms Odysseus into a warrior king from a beggar, and Telemachus doesn't believe that Odysseus is really his father, so takes Odysseus and his cunning skills to convince Telemachus that he is his father.
Yesterday shows the story, she stops, visible to Odysseus, but Telemachus cannot see her, sense her there. The gods did not show themselves to every man alive. Odysseus saw her, so did the dogs. No barking now. They whimpered, cringing away in terror through the yard. She gave her sign with the ground, Odysseus' clients. No. Out of the lodge he went and past the high stockade. Athena stroked him with a golden wand. First she laid his cloak and showed his body fresh and clean, and laid him tall, supple young. His ruddy tan came back. His dark beard, crusted black, around his chin. The work complete, she went to wait once more. And Odysseus returned to the lodge. His own son gazed at him, wonder-struck, terrified too. Suddenly he turned his eyes away. This must be some God.
And he let fly a burst of exclamation. Friend, you're a new man, not one I saw before. Your clothes, they have changed. Even your skin is singed. Surely you're some God who rules the vaulting skies. Oh, be kind. We will give you offerings, gifts of hammered gold to warm your heart.
No, I'm not a god, the long enduring Odysseus returned. Why confuse me with one who never dies? No, I'm your father, the great Odysseus, that you have wept for all your days. You bore a world of pain, the cruel abuse of man.
No, you're not Odysseus. You're not my father. Just some spirit spellbinding me now, making me ache of sorrows all the more. Impossible for a mortal to work such marvels without his own devices. Not unless some god came down not unless some god came down as a human, eager to make this mortal young or old like this. Why? Just now. Just now, you're Dad, you're just old. So now you look like God who rules the vaulting skies.
Telemachus, Odysseus, the man of exploits, urged his son. It's wrong to marvel, carried away in some wonder, to see your father here before your eyes. No other Odysseus will ever return to you. That man and I are one, the man you see here. Here, after many hardships, endless wandering, after 20 years, I have come home to native ground at last. My changing so? Athena's work, the fighter's queen. She has that power. She makes me look as she likes. Now a beggar, the next moment a warrior, a young man, decked out in handsome clothes about his body. That is light work for the gods who rule the skies, to make a man marvel or to bring him low.
My passage is from book 16. It's Antony talking to the suitors about the failed ambush the suitors had and about the planned killing, which never really happened to them. What a blow. Seal the gods and save this boy from bloody death. And our lookouts, all day long, stationed atop the windy heights, kept watch. Shift on shift. Once the sun went down, we'd never sleep the night ashore. Never. Always aboard our swift ship, cruising to dawn, patrolling to catch Telemachus. Kill him on the spot, and all the while, some spirit whisked him on. So here at home, we'll plot his certain death. We must never slip through our hands in getting that boy while he still lives. I swear, we'll never bring our venture off. The clever little schemer, he does have his skills, and the crowds no longer show his favor, not at all. So act, before he can gather his people in assembly. He'll never give an inch. I know he'll rise and rage away, shouting out to them all how he schemed his sudden death, but never caught him. Hearing of our foul plays, they'll hardly sing our praises. Why, they might do us damage, run us off our lands, drive us abroad to hunt for stranger shores. Strike first, I say, and kill him, clear of town, in the fields, or on the road. Then we'll seize his estates and worldly goods, carve them up between us, share, and share alike.
The passage we are about to recite comes from Book 17, in which Odysseus has returned home from a long voyage in which he has been away for many years. When he returns home to Ithaca, he is instructed by Athena to remain in his beggarly disguise. Later, Eumaeus, the swineherd, leads Odysseus up towards his palace.
On the way, Odysseus encounters Melanthius, who is a goatherd, but he has remained disloyal to Odysseus while he's been gone, and has surrounded himself with the suitors and has even given them their best goats. And our picture is a sketch that shows Odysseus when he's in Ithaca disguised as a beggar.
And so, the servant led his master toward the city, looking, for all the world, like an old and broken beggar. hunched on a stick, his body wrapped in shameful rags. Down over the rugged road they went, till hard by town they reached the stone-rim fountain, running clear, where the city people came and drew their water. Ithaca built it once, with Maretus and Polyocta. Round it, a strand of poplar thrived in the dank soil, all in a nestling ring. And down from a rock ledge overhead, cold water splashed, and crowning the fountain rose an altar stone erected to the nips, where every traveler paused and left an offering. Here, Dolius' son, Melantheus, crossed their path, herding his goats with a pair of drovers' help. The pick of his flocks to make the suitors meal. As soon as he saw them there, he broke into a flood of brutal, foul abuse that made Odysseus' blood boil.
Look, he sneered. One scum nosing another scum along. Dirt finds dirt by the will of God. It never fails. Wretched pig boy, where do you take your filthy swine? The sickening beggar who licks the pots at feasts, hanging round the doorposts, rubbing his back, scavenging at the scraps. No hero's swords and cauldrons, not the head. Hand him over to me. I'll teach him how to work a farm. Muck out my stalls, pitch feed to the young goats, wait to drink or put some muscle on his hams. Oh no, he's learned his lazy ways too well. He's got no wish to stick to good, hard work. He'd rather go scrounging around the countryside, begging for crust to stuff his greedy gut. Let me tell you, so help me, it's the truth. If he sets foot in King Odysseus' royal palace, salvos of footstools flung at him by all the lords will crack his ribs as he runs the line of fire through the house.
Our passage is about when Eumaeus and Odysseus see old god Argus. The village is actually the Roman version of Odysseus' dog Argus. He looks young and healthy here, but he's actually weak and dying.
Now, as they talked on, a dog that lay there lifted up his muzzle and pricked his ears. It was Argos, long enduring Odysseus' dog. He trained as a puppy once, but little joy he got, since all too soon he shipped to sacred Troy. In the old days, young hunters loved the sun coursing after wild goats and deers and hares. But now, with his master gone, he lay there, cast away, on piles of dung from mules and cattle. Keeps collecting out before the gates till Odysseus' serving them could cart it off to manure the king's estates. Infested with ticks, half dead from neglect, here lay the hem of old Argus. But the moment he sensed Odysseus standing by, he thumped his tail, and nuzzling low. His ears dropped. Though he had no strength to move an inch towards the master.
You told the stern Eumaeus, loyal swineherd. Here, he tells us room. Here's the dog of a man who died in flame plugs. But if he had now the foam and flare, he had in his glory days, as Odysseus left him, sailing up to Troy. You'd be amazed to see such speed, such strength. No quarry he chased the deepest, darkest woods could ever slip this time. I checked the tracker too. But he has run out of luck now. Poor fellow. His master's dead and gone, so far from home. And the headless woman standing not at all. Slaves for the lords, no longer there to crack the whip. Zeus, the old thunderer, robs a man half his virtue the day the joke clamps down around his neck. Thank you.
Okay, well, my passage is about the fight between Odysseus and Iris when Odysseus is disguised as a beggar, and it's for the amusement of the suitors, basically. So. That threat shook his knees with a stronger fit, but they hauled him into the ring. Would the seasoned fighter Odysseus, deeply torn now? Should he knock him senseless, leave him dead where he dropped, or stretch him out on the ground with a light jab? As he mulled things over, that way seemed best. A glancing blow, the suitors did not detect him. The two men squared off. And Iris hurled a fist at Odysseus' right shoulder as he came through the hook below the ear, pounding Iris' neck, smashing the bones inside. And suddenly, red blood came spurting out of his mouth. Headlong down, he pitched in the dust, howling, teeth locked in a grin, feet beating the ground. And the princely suitors, flailing their hands in the air, died laughing. Grabbing him by the leg, Odysseus hauled him through the porch, across the yard, to the outer gate.
My passage is about Penelope records what Odysseus said to her before he left Ithaca. I will never forget the day he left this land of ours. He caught my right hand by wrist and said gently, "Dear woman, I doubt that every Achaean underarmed will make it home from Troy, or safe and sound. The Trojans, they say, are fine soldiers too, hauling javelins, shooting flights of arrows. Charioteers can turn the tide like that. When the great leveler will bring on some deadlock. So I cannot tell if the gods will send me home again, or I will go down out there on the field of Troy. But our thing here must rest in your control. Watch over my father and mother, just in the palace, just as now, or perhaps a little more, when I'm back from home. But once you see the beard on boy's cheek, you wed the man you like and leave your house behind. So my husband advised me then, now we are come true."
Penelope and Penelope and their guest Odysseus meet and talk. His words renewed her deep desire to weep, recognizing the strong, fierce signs that Odysseus offered. But as soon as she had her feel of tears and grief, Penelope turned again to her guest and said, "Now, stranger, much as I pitied you before, you will be my special friend, my honored guest. But I am the one myself who gave him the very clothes that you described. I brought them up from the storeroom, folded them neatly, fastened the golden brooch to adorn my husband, Odysseus. Never again will I embrace him. Striding home to his own native land, a black day it was. When he took ship to see that cursed city. Destroy, I call it. I hate to say its name.
My passage takes place in book 20, which is Eumaeus' house. Odysseus changed to beggar, and then power and Eumaeus talk to each other. You'll see with your own eyes if you have the heart. These suitors will already here cut down in blood. Stranger, if only the coward cry aloud. If only Zeus would make the oath come true. You see my power, my fighting arms in action.
Eumaeus echoed his prayer to all the gods that their wise king would soon come home again. Now as they spoke and urged each other on, and once more the suitors were plotting certain doom for the young prince, suddenly banking high on the left, an omen flew past, an eagle clutching a trembled dove, and Amphinomus rose in haste to warn them all. My friends, we'll never carry out this plot to kill the prince. Let's concentrate on feasting. Thank you.
My part is when Odysseus is in the palace and shocks the suitors by stringing his mighty bow. So they mocked, but Odysseus masterminded action. Once he handled the great bow and scanned every inch. Then, like an expert singer, skilled at lyre and song, who strains a string to a new peg with ease, making the pliant sheep cut fast at either end. So with his virtuoso ease, Odysseus strung his mighty bow. Quickly, his right hand plucked the string to test its pitch, and under his touch it sang out clear and sharp as a swallow's cry. Horror swept through the suitors, faces blanching white, and Zeus cracked the sky with a bolt, his blazing sign. And the great man who had borne so much rejoiced at last, that the son of cunning Cronus flung that omen down for him. He snatched a winged arrow, lying bare on the board. The rest still bristled deep inside the quiver, soon to be tasted by all the feasters there. Setting shaft on the hand grip, drawing the notch and the bowstring back, right from his stool. Right from his stool. Just as he sat, but aiming straight and true, he let fly. And never missing an axe from the first axe handle, clean on through and lasting out. The shaft with the weighted brazen head shot free.
So my part is when Odysseus just shot Antimus, and the suitors are flipping out, and Odysseus responds to all this. Stranger, shooting at men will cost you your life. Your game is over. You shot your last. You'll never escape your own headlong death. Kill the best in Ithaca, our fine prince. Vultures will eat your corpse. Groping frantic, each one persuading himself to guess and kill the man by chance. Poor fools. Blind to the fact that all their necks were loose, their doom sealed. With a dark look, the wily fighter Odysseus shouted back, "You dogs! You never imagined I would return from Troy. So cocksure that you bled my house to death, ravished my servant woman, wooed my wife, behind my back while I was still alive. No fear when the gods rule the skies up there. No fear that men's revenge might arrive someday."
I'm about to recite a passage from book 22 about the slaughter. Athena is using anger, using a speech to anger Odysseus to keep on fighting and have courage for the rest of the slaughter. Naked threats, and Athena hit new heights of rage. She lashed out at Odysseus, now with blazing accusations. "Where is it gone, Odysseus? Your power, your fighting heart? The great soldier who fought for famous white-armed Helen, battling Trojans 9 long years, non-stop, no mercy. Mowing the armies down in grueling battle. You, who seized the broad streets of Troy with your fine strategic stroke. How can you, now you've returned to your own house, your own wealth, wail the loss of your combat strength in a war against suitors? Come, old friends, stand by me, you'll see action now. See how Mentor, the son of Alchemist, kills your enemies, pays you back for service. Rousing words, but you kept on testing Odysseus and his gallant son, putting their force and fighting hard to test, to prove. For all the world like a swallow in their sight, she flew on high to perch on the great hall's central roof and black with smoke.
The passage that I will recite today is Penelope's response to Odysseus being angered after she had his bed that he built himself moved while he was coming home from Troy. Odysseus, don't flare up at me now, not you, always the most understanding man alive. The gods, it was the gods who sent us sorrow. They grudged us both alike in each other's arms, from the heady zest of youth to the soup of old age. But don't fault me, angry with me now, because I failed at the first glimpse to greet you, hold you. So, in my heart of hearts, I always cringe with fear. Some fraud might come, beguile me with the stock. The world is full of the sort, cunning ones, who plot their own dark ends. Remember Helen of Argos, Zeus's daughter? Would she have sported so in a stranger's bed if she had dreamed that Achilles' sons were doomed to fight and die to bring her home again?
This passage is from Book 23, when Odysseus has to tell Penelope that he's leaving from Ithaca again. The prophet said that I must row through towns on towns of men, that I must carry a well-planed oar until I come to a people that know nothing of the sea, whose food is never seasoned with salt. Strangers all to ships with their crimson prows and long slim oars, wings that make ships fly. And here's my sign, he told me, clear, so clear I cannot miss it, and I'll share it with you now. When another traveler calls in with me and calls the weight across my shoulder of fan for winnowing grain, then, he told me, I must plant my oar into the ground and sacrifice fine beasts to the Lord God of the sea Poseidon, a ram, a bull, and a ramping wild boar. And then journey home and render noble offerings up to the deathless gods who rule the vaulting skies, to all the gods in order. Then at last my own death will come upon me, a gentle, painless death. Far from the sea comes to take me down, borne down with years of ripe old age. With all my people around me in blessed peace, or with all my people here with blessed peace around me. All this, the prophet said, shall come to pass.
My passage is about little fight scene at the end with Odysseus and his son. Athena breathed enormous strength from the old man, yielded a prayer to mighty Zeus's daughter. Brandished a spear a moment, winged it fast, and hit Eupeithes, pierced his bronze-sided helmet that failed to pierce his bronze armor. Down went Eupeithes, his armor clanging against his chest. Odysseus and his gallant son charged straight into the front lines, slashing over his swords with two-edged spears, and now he would have killed them all, cut them off from home, if Athena, daughter of storming Zeus, had not cried out in a piercing voice that stopped all fighters cold. Hold back, young men of Ithaca.
back from brutal war. Break off, shed no more blood, make peace at once.